Hey guys, it's Addison. I want to make a video because I've been thinking about something a bit since the last time I made a video, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Just for reference, I'm now 12 weeks on T. This Wednesday will be 13. But last time I talked a little bit about how I have a rage response, and that's something that a lot of guys talk about, and I'm not gonna bore you with more talk about how when I get angry I want to punch things. But the thing about my rage response I've noticed is that I only get into that zone when something really bad happens. Like, I get in a fight with my girlfriend, or someone on the street is a total douchebag and completely ungenders me, or, I have a bad conversation with my mom, or, something personal and usually in person. Something that I have to deal with those emotions right away. And that doesn't really happen very often. I'm a pretty laid-back individual, and I try to let, a lot of stuff roll off, and frankly, I'm not very social, so I'm not out in the world dealing with a lot of this a lot of the time. I stay home a lot. I'm currently unemployed, and my friends all work, so they're out doing their jobs all day, and when they get home, they're tired and want to go to bed. And so, aside from my girlfriend, I don't get a whole lot of social interaction, so I don't have a lot of rage response. But something that I've noticed is that things that used to, barely annoy me, that used to just kind of hit a nerve, and I could, look at it, go, wow, that's really fucking stupid, and then be done with it, now get me really frustrated and annoyed and pissed in the way that I used to get pissed. Not in the rage response way, but in the, I'm angry about this and I want to do something about it. I want to, when you get pissed about something and you don't want to go punch the person, but you want to bitch to your best friend about it, that kind of pissed. And so, it's really frustrating to me because like I said, I think of myself as a fairly laid-back individual, I try not to let a lot of stuff get to me. I try to be fairly upbeat, and it makes me kind of a miserable person to have that response to every little stupid thing on the internet. And there are a lot of stupid people on the internet, if you haven't noticed. There are lots of them, and you can't really avoid them. You can try and surround yourself with intelligent, open-minded individuals, but everybody's going to have their thing, and, you don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of yous all the time. That would get annoying too. So, it's just kind of frustrating because everybody's going to have their slip-ups, and you can't really control it, and the fact that these things get me pissed for 15-20 minutes of my day, that's a lot of time. It adds up. And it makes me a miserable human being to be around, and that's not fair. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to my partner. So, I've been trying to work on it, and Chris has said that I've been doing better, which is nice, because I don't get a whole lot of reinforcement about it, because it's the internet, and, the internet doesn't know how many times I just walk away from a situation, the internet isn't gonna tell me, oh, good job, you handled yourself well. So, the fact that she's there doing that for me is very nice, and I appreciate it very much. But it's been difficult because, like I've told you guys previously, I had a lot of anger management issues in middle school, before T, and I took a lot of time and a lot of energy and dedicated a lot of mental push to getting that under control. If I can go into analogy land here, if my emotions were carried in pipes, I spent a lot of time putting filters into those pipes, so I knew which emotions I could filter out and deal with at a later time, and which ones I needed to deal with in that moment. And so I spent a lot of time on that, and I was really good at it by the time I got on T. Like I said, fairly laid-back individual, didn't get in a lot of brawls at the end of my my life on estrogen, I guess. And tea has kind of sent those emotions through completely different sets of pipes. And now I have to refit all of my filters, and I have to go through and do all that work over again. And it was one thing doing it while I was in school, because I had all that positive reinforcement that I was not being a total dick to everyone, because I was in school surrounded by a bunch of assholes all day, so I had lots of opportunities to kind of hone my skills, and I had friends around me all the time that said, "Good job, you didn't punch that dick in the face." And now it's like all stuff over the internet, and I don't get a lot of positive reinforcement, so I don't really know how well I'm doing. And so it's been kind of difficult for me. I've been trying to do my best with it, but sometimes Chris gets home and I am just in a bad fucking mood. And it's terrible because, my moods are such a way that I can't really tell her what's going to make me feel better anymore. When I was, on E, I knew what my moods were. I knew what made me feel better because I had 20 years of knowing what made me feel better, of figuring out, yeah, you can touch me right now. You can give me a hug and I will feel better for it. Or, no, you really don't want to touch me. I'm going to be over here sulking. And now I don't really have that. I don't have those indicators, and it's been one of the really tough things about being in a relationship right now, is that I can't, if I'm in a bad mood, I can't tell her, yeah, giving me a hug would help, because sometimes I think having a hug will help, and it doesn't help at all. And so it's been rough. Not that, I don't want to make it sound like my entire life has been hell, because that's not it at all. It's just, we take for granted all the times that we're okay, and that we're having not really a good day, but, just a day, like any other. And, so the things that really make us think are those times when we're really, really happy, or having a really bad day. So, I don't want y'all to think that, all my days have been hell, and I've just been a total asshole the whole time that I've gotten on tea, because that's not true. But, it has been difficult. It's been really, really difficult to kind of filter all those out and kind of deal with these emotions. The other thing I've noticed, concerning emotions is, I don't know why, because maybe it's because I'm still on the low dose, but my cycle, because I'm on weekly shots, and I did that so I wouldn't cycle as crazy as a lot of people do, but I'm still on a low dose. I'm still on 30 milligrams a week, and around Sunday, going into Monday, Tuesday, depending on the week, but it seems to happen around then, and some weeks I'll be okay, but other weeks, once Sunday rolls around, I just, all control of my emotions just goes out the door. I usually try and keep myself pretty stable. It's not like I, can tether my emotions and can tether my mental state to the happy medium, but I try and stay, pretty constant. But once Sunday rolls around, I just slip from one extreme to the other. Sometimes I'll be really happy and I'll be feeling really good, and I'll be, working out and doing push-ups and happy as hell, and then next thing you know, I'm, depressed as shit, and, just want to curl up in a ball and go to sleep, and it's like, the fuck? So, it's been hard to handle, because I'm not used to that. I'm not used to, I usually have a couple days to go from feeling really good to feeling like shit, and now I don't. And it's hard, because then I have to realize, oh, this is all hormones. This has nothing to actually do with anything that's going on in real life. This is just my hormones going, hey, we're gonna fuck up your day. How does that sound? Does that sound like a good idea? So, that's been crazy. I feel like a crazy motherfucker, and I'm happy. I'm happy as shit that I'm on tea. I'm happy as hell. you know, that I have to shave regularly now because I have all this stubble and my mustache comes in and it's gross, so I have to shave regularly, and I'm so happy, you know? I've got a legit happy trail, my body hair is coming in, everything else is going well, my voice is dropping, my hairline's changing. If you haven't noticed, it's kind of amazing. It means I get to pull off boy haircuts. So I'm happy about all that, but all the emotional stuff is just driving me insane. Like, I kind of expected some of it. Like, I expected to, you know, have a hard time regulating stuff for a little while, and I expected, you know, my emotions to come from a completely different place. But where I expected my emotions to come from is not where they're coming from at all. You know, I expected more visceral reactions, but they don't really feel more visceral. They feel foreign, and sometimes I don't even know it's happening until it's already happening. Like, I have no warning, and sometimes I'm just like, wow, I'm in a really foul mood. How long have I been in a really foul mood for? And, you know, I have to actually, like, you know, sit down and go, okay, I was feeling good at 1 o'clock, and it's 3, so what happened at 2 o'clock? And sometimes it's absolutely nothing. And so that's been, it's like I've been saying this whole video, it's been hard to deal with, because I had a really good control on things. I was kind of an emotional control freak for a while, and now I don't have that at all. And like any control freak that suddenly loses control, I kind of feel a little unbalanced. And I've been trying to rein it back in and get control on it again. And like I said, Chris has said I've been doing pretty well with it, but I kind of wish that I had more warning that I was gonna, like, feel completely insane. I mean, I know other guys talked about it, and, you know, they talked about how emotions feel different and everything, but I didn't realize it was gonna, like, completely fuck my shit up, I guess. But aside from that, aside from feeling like a crazy person, I'm good. I'm still unemployed. Chris is working. Her Christmas gift came in the mail today. I'm very happy about that. I talked to all of my family again, and still radio silence on my voice dropping. No one has said anything. I think I'm going to be going back home the week after New Year's, and I'll be there for about a week. And so that should be really, really interesting. I think what I'm going to do when I go home is I'm going to talk to my mom about food, which I already kind of broached the subject yesterday when I was on the phone with her, and she said, that's fine, you know, we'll work on it. And I was like, wow, that's better than I expected it to go. I'm going to try and spend a lot of time out of the house with my friends and not get sucked into the communal smoking project that is my living room. And I'm gonna, I always say these things and then they never happen, but I'm gonna try really hard to work out while I'm home, because I think that'll burn off a lot of the frustration that I'll have. And so I think I'm gonna try and get my sleep schedule so that I can wake up at dawn and go for a sunrise run, because A, I really like sunrises, and B, no one's around during that time to laugh at me because I run funny. And C, I live right next to a bridge, and it's a pretty long bridge, and I think that and the park on the other side would be a really nice run. So I'm going to try and do that when I go home, to try and offset whatever mental fuckery is going to happen. I need to work more on my emotions before I go home, because it's going to be a pressure cooker, like hardcore. So I'm going to try and do all of that I've outlined. But aside from that, I'm doing good. I need a haircut, and I've been working out a lot, trying to get my muscles a little bit better, and they're okay. They're hard, but they're not like anything that I want them to be. Been working on my shoulders some too, but it's hard when you work out at home, especially when you don't have people yelling in your face. So, anyway, about to run out of time. Talk to you later.